Kick, punch, it's all in the mic.
Whatever you like's in the middle, fiddle.
Whatever you like, in the middle, fiddle.
I bought PaRappa the Rapper new when it came out, and I still think it was one of the most magical gaming experiences of the 32-bit era. Most of my friends hated it, but I couldn't get enough. You pressed buttons to a rhythm to make a dog rap. It was totally new. So new that they had to make it really easy because no one had ever played a rhythm game before. By today's standards, it's really short and a bit lacking in things to do, but at the time, it was probably a huge task to bring to life on the PlayStation 1. The sequel to PaRappa, titled even more nonsensically as Jammer Lammy, didn't quite live up to my expectations. The theme was rock this time around, but maybe the developers weren't as familiar with the genre, and the actual button tap rhythms felt spastic and unmusical. These things happen. The geniuses who brought us these games, a company called Nana On Sha, which literally translates to 7-Note Company, kept on delivering, but most of their subsequent games remained Japan exclusives. Which is a damn shame, because they're brilliant. And today, I'd like to talk in depth about one of them, a little PlayStation 2 game called Mojib Ribbon. Yes, I'm reviewing a PlayStation 2 game. This was maybe the only time it ever happens, so enjoy every minute of it. Mojib Ribbon is a calligraphy hip-hop game. Why are you looking at me like that? There is no way to more accurately describe the game. It's a calligraphy hip-hop game. The point of the game is to make your character rap while he writes out the lyrics with a calligraphy brush. Nothing confusing about that. Well, not once you've seen how the game works. First of all, let's meet the main character, Mojib Ribbon. He's on a quest to find the Ring of Truth, which supposedly contains the answers to the mysteries of the universe. So yeah, he's on a quest for spiritual enlightenment. And by the look of his character design, I think he's less than one step away. The game has 18 stages in which your character raps predetermined lyrics, one sentence or phrase at a time. As he walks along a ring of clouds, you instruct him to start writing the lyrics, and he raps along. The way this works is by using the right analog stick to move the brush he's holding up and down. That's right, this game only uses one button, the right analog stick, so I hope you're not a D-pad kind of person. Each phrase is separated into mini-phrases of a couple words that begin with a symbol. If you press down just as your character walks over the symbol, he'll start writing and rapping. When that mini-phrase is over, you let go of the analog stick and repeat the process when you get to the next symbol. Here's the trick. This is calligraphy, so you need to write with just the perfect level of pressure. This is accomplished by pushing the analog stick up to raise the brush in the air just an instant before you press down to start writing. If you don't press up, you won't write with enough pressure and the letters will be too light. If you press up for too long, you'll use too much pressure and the letters will be too dark, which also wastes your ink. This tiny little mechanic provides for all the challenge in Mojib Ribbon, because those mini-phrases come in rapid succession, and, unlike PaRappa the Rapper, the judgment on the timing is super tight. Despite only using one button, I never found Mojib Ribbon to be too simple. Once you've written out a complete phrase, a shogi piece will appear at the end, and pressing up on the analog stick as you walk over this piece will then make the next phrase appear. If you can complete a whole phrase in one rotation without missing any of the mini-phrases, you'll receive a title and bonus points, along with a flamboyant aura of success around your character. But what happens when you screw up? Other than being single in your 30s, living in Japan. You have an ink meter at the top left of the screen, and you use ink as you write. Ink gets replenished every time you complete a phrase, but if your timing is off and you don't start writing at the beginning of a mini-phrase, you'll fall down and splash a bunch of ink everywhere. Do this too many times and you'll run out of ink, causing your character to devolve into a snowman blob and then an upside-down heart. Run out of ink a third time and the game is over. Of course, if you start playing well, you can return to your original masculine form. Holding up on the analog stick for too long and writing thick letters will also waste ink, so it's technically safer to write too light than too dark. That probably doesn't sound like it would hold a player's interest for 18 levels, But the good news is, they've added a few quirks to give it some variety. The game has a mostly pointless storyline that progresses after each level, and eventually you get a couple friends to join you on your rapping journey. First, you meet a girl named Mojiko, who Moji Birdie quickly makes his feelings known for. A few levels later you run into a robot named Osorizan1999, who has a scary sounding name but turns out to be a friendly robot. Once you meet these characters, they join you in the levels and switch off with the main character to rap their own verses. Their voices are very distinct, but the gameplay mechanics are the same for all three. Still want more? One of the coolest aspects of Mojib Ribbon is customization. That's right, you can add your own lyrics to the songs. A few songs have a section that requires you to add a word or phrase to the lyrics before the level starts, which will then be performed by one of the characters in-game. And after you've cleared a level, it opens up a set of alternate lyrics which sort of act like Mad Libs, where you go in and fill in the blanks as you like, and then play the level with these lyrics. And you're not just limited to filling in the blanks, you can completely change the lyrics and rewrite them from scratch if you so choose. The developers must have hoped that the game would become an international sensation the way PaRappa did, because Mojib Ribbon is network compatible so that you can share your original lyrics with your friends through the internet. Obviously, all of this requires a pretty advanced understanding of Japanese, so it may not be much of a perk to a person considering importing the game. Being the mature, stately young man that I was when I bought Mojib Ribbon, the very first time I was faced with a lyric input screen, I put in the first thing that came to mind: butt naked girls. And when the robot said the lyric in his verse, totally naturally, without skipping a beat, I just died laughing. As silly as it sounds, this is probably what the developers had in mind. Mojib Ribbon is a rhythm game. Music is a central part of it, so you're probably wondering if the music is any good. I grew up listening to hip-hop, and I find the beats themselves to be excellent. I actually bought the official soundtrack, which is nice, but they took the data straight from the game, so it still has the sound of the brush writing in the background. Still, it's listenable. The developers built some kind of primitive Vocaloid style software to make the characters rap, so that they could say any combination of letters in the Japanese alphabet and be relatively understandable. This works because Japanese is made up of syllables and not consonants and vowels, and one letter doesn't affect the reading of the following letter, the way English does. It comes out sounding a bit robotic, but definitely functional. It turns out that Mojib Ribbon is actually sort of an unofficial sequel to a PlayStation 1 game called Mojib Ribbon, which was given an English release in Europe, but not North America. This game also had you walking along with music playing, but you pressed different buttons depending on the shape of the terrain. It employed white-on-black vector graphics to open up memory, which allowed players to swap the game with their own music CDs and auto-generate levels. Just like Mojib Ribbon, the possibilities were endless. Mojib Ribbon is extremely simple in its core gameplay. The timing is unforgiving, and it requires a high level of Japanese to get the most out of. It's definitely not for every gamer, importer or not. But the sheer originality and excellent music make it a worthwhile experience in my opinion. And it's dirt cheap. That is all for this review of Mojib Ribbon. Thanks a lot for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe, and I'll see you next week.